right. Hello, everyone. Hello. We're going to start the podcast.
Hello, everybody. Again, thanks for coming out. There will be a dessert coming out soon if it hasn't come out yet.
So we are taping a video podcast. So welcome, everybody, to the 3rd anniversary of Southern Grit. And we are taping Grit with Deb and Fitz. And as most of y'all know, I'm Deb.
That is Deb. That is the managing editor of Southern Grit magazine. I would say the brainiest person involved with the magazine for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be talking to a couple people tonight. We're going to be talking to Chef Josh Gregory of Sup and Southern Morsels, who's right over there, right behind Mark Frank. We're also going to be talking to Richard George of InsideVirginia, right there. And we're going to have a few staff members on. Laura Trott, right over here.
Hello.
And you're going to have to talk a lot louder than that.
Hi.
Say hi again.
Hello. Greetings.
And we're going to have Yana Samberg on right over there as well.
What's up?
All right, Deb, let's get started.
Yeah, so it's our 3-year anniversary. You have any thoughts? Any reflections? Any memories?
I do, actually, and Josh is going to talk a little bit about this later, but we're definitely going to talk about some memories that were kind of some of the more debaucherous things that happened with Southern Grit. So I'm going to start out with a pretty good one, actually.
I'm a little nervous.
So there's been a total of 3 articles where somebody's gotten mad and multiple members of staff have been threatened. One of them, my boy Josh over there, was threatened. That's how good of an article he wrote. We're gonna leave the name out of it, but I think you know you're doing something right in a area that likes to pander with a lot of food media when literally people are coming up to you trying to kick your ass, basically.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yes. So I think that the inciting of violence is one of my favorite things Southern Grit has done over the years.
Wow, that's what you want to lead with?
Well,
That's
I mean,
what you're leading with?
it was about debaucherous moments. So
Okay, all right, we'll go with that.
Well, what about you? What's one of your favorite moments with Southern Grit?
Well, mine isn't as exciting. Like, mine sounds kind of boring. Mine is stirring the pot. Like, bringing all these people together to talk about James Hemmings. Like, mine sounds so academic compared to getting your ass beat in the street. Like, I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, you know, what's really cool about that, bringing up the stirring the pot dinner, is one of the chefs who was actually part of that dinner and who's featured in the newest edition of Southern Grit magazine, Alvin Hyman, who's sitting over there somewhere from Sweetwater Cuisine, is here tonight. Alvin is a chef that actually trained under the late, great Bobby Huber, and make sure to check out his feature in this edition of Southern Grit magazine. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention that Andrea from Andrea's just across the street is here tonight. And with that, if Yana can actually kind of hobble over this way, I want to talk to her about that for a minute. Yana wrote a great article on Andrea DiCarlo, who's sitting right there, the man right there. Andrea's got a feature spread in the edition that everybody got handed out at the beginning of this. And Yana, I thought, wrote a really touching article about how much family means to Andrea and his family. And so I wanted to ask Yana a few questions about that. Tell me a little bit about, talking to Andrea and getting to know him and the family and what that was like right in that article.
Well, first I had to get him really drunk. No, it's very clear just from being around the restaurant that Andrea is all about family, whether it's his actual blood relatives or the staff. And multiple employees of his mentioned that that's what he strives to do at the restaurant, is to build a sense of family, because restaurant work, as we all know, or maybe some of you don't, can be pretty grueling. It's a 7-day-a-week job. It can be kind of tough, so if you don't have a good team that functions like a family, it's not going to work. So.
But yeah, working with Andrea for the Stirring the Pot dinner was really special. There's a lot of guys that have been doing it for a while, and sometimes they get a little remiss. Not him. The passion, the fire is just as much as it was. We can tell by the work, by the food, by how dedicated he is to growing the scene as we are. So Andrea, thanks again for just hosting an outstanding event over there. So Deb, one of the other things that we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to get into our best of list a little bit.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring in Laura Trott about that. Laura is our beer writer. She's been with us now for a while, and in the next edition of Southern Grit and some stuff online, we're going to have our best of list rolling out, and that's going to be a reoccurring theme we're going to talk about on this podcast. But Of all the breweries in the area, Norfolk and Virginia Beach, Laura, like which three stood out to you the most in 2017?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this is a super hard choice because there's a ton of breweries out. Everyone is trying to do different new things. And then there's always more breweries opening in the area. I would definitely say that Eric Tennant over at Benchtop Brewing is on that list for me for sure. He is just a real brainiac. I mean, he was a food scientist for 15 years, the whole time planning his foray into brewing. He really knows what he's doing on a chemical level in the beers that he's doing. And because of that, he's able to produce really cool beers.
What was your second choice for the best brewery of the year?
Okay, so this is really difficult because I don't know if this is in any really order after Eric Tennant at Benchtop. I really dig what Commonwealth is doing right now. I think they're doing a really fantastic job. They have a really great variety of beers they're producing.
What is it about Commonwealth?
Well, I mean, I think that they're willing to adventure out into different styles and to try new things, and there's genuinely something for everybody at the brewery.
What was your third choice for the year?
I gotta go with my favorite underdog, Rip Rap. I know that, I mean, I don't know how many people here have been to Rip Rap. Rip Rap is definitely one of my favorite breweries, so on a personal level, yeah, I'm a little bit biased. However, the beers that Liam is producing at Rip Rap is completely solid. I mean, he could have been doing this really boring beer and producing just run-of-the-mill stuff, but every single beer that I've had from Rip Rap has been on the mark. And in addition to that, Liam is super interested in finding weird styles, like the Burton Ale that they have on right now, which is also one of my favorite beers currently, so it's great.
Make sure to check out Laura's article in the newest edition on Eric Tennant and Benchtop. That's one of the features in this edition. And I think now at this point we got to bring Josh Gregory on. The man, the myth, the legend, the inciting of violence, Josh Gregory. Come on over this way on this side. Let's hear it for Josh Gregory, by the way. So I already kind of introduced him, but I want to say a few words about Josh. There was a time when the magazine necessarily wasn't struggling, but it needed a new energy. And Josh came in, and at that time, you and I literally wrote basically an entire edition by ourselves. And it's the one with Ross Riddle from Hashi on the cover, and we're both really proud of that edition. But I wanted Josh on to talk about one thing real specific. I wanted one of the best chefs in the area to talk about who he felt his standout choices for the best 2017 chefs were in the area. Again, isolating it to Norfolk and Virginia Beach because we tend to focus more in that area. So Josh, can you go in a little bit to like who your picks were for the standout chefs of 2017?
Yeah, you know, when you asked me, I kind of wanted to say, you know, I'm going to ditch your rules and we're going to go outside of Virginia Beach and Norfolk. And then I said, okay, well, I'll take a minute. We'll roll it back and we'll sort of think of it. One of my best chefs is actually sitting in the room right now. He's over here in the corner. He's probably going to kill me. Bob Roberts from the Redwood Smoke Shack. Ever since, Fitz started insisting that I go to Redwood and then literally pulling me out of the kitchen to work one day to go try it, Bob's just been putting out really consistent and solid food.
You know, the funny thing about Bob is that Bob argues with me about how he's not a chef. And when I saw him come in earlier, I was like, Bob, you're gonna get mad at Josh because Josh is gonna be like, you're one of the best chefs of 2017. So
I did that on purpose too, because he said that sort of to me too, and that's kind of bullshit, Bob. Like, you kill it out of that truck, and you're absolutely cooking as much as the rest of us are. So I guess welcome to the club, buddy. If you haven't really accepted that yet.
What were some of your other picks for this year?
Barry Smith over at Commune for me has been one of the most sort of consistent chefs that I've seen, ever since Commune's opened, and now that he's splitting his time between the Norfolk location and the Virginia Beach location. I know that battle myself, like, very personally, and to put out consistent food like that's really, really special.
I think that's an interesting choice. I think that him taking over in Norfolk not too long ago, a few months ago, it's going to be interesting to see how he turns around maybe a more middle and kind of start to that restaurant, whereas the Virginia Beach restaurant is super solid and has been super consistent since it opened up.
Well, I think his food really plays into what Norfolk is about as a food scene as well. So I really hope that, if you haven't been to Commune in Norfolk yet, go check it out. It's definitely a really great breakfast and lunch spot, and hopefully maybe Norfolk can embrace him a little bit more now that he's out here and doing really solid work.
What was another pick? I know you had a few more.
I had Brian out at Esoteric.
That's also a really interesting pick. I mean, I think that when Ian left Esoteric, it was kind of going to be a proving ground to see what Brian could do, and I think he really has stepped up to the plate.
Well, and you're seeing a young guy really like step in and put his own stamp on a place that sort of already had like an aura about it. And Brian's food is really specific, but also very creative, but also like unique and kind of straightforward. Like it sort of colors all different parts of the map, and I think that's what makes it really interesting.
What was it like cooking with him at the All Bite event?
Brian's staff is always top notch. You know, you get in that kitchen, like that kitchen runs like a very well engineered Swiss watch. Like those guys really know what they're doing. Brian really knows what he's doing. They're always a pleasure to work with. They always say, yes, chef, the kitchen's immaculate. I mean, it's really just a really wonderful environment to be in.
And then I think you had two more, right?
I did David Hanna out at Stoley's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for those of you that haven't been to Stoley's, it's absolutely worth your trip out there. I actually grew up in that neighborhood, and I'm very, very happy to see a chef of that caliber and that location doing just some really fantastic food.
Yeah, I think that David's really got some interesting things going on out there. I know that he was also a person that participated in the Alt Bite event. And he's just been so consistent from winning the first Namarama Burger Battle, which you're in the new one coming up in January with him.
I am. We're coming to bring the title home this year. So
is that a prediction? Is that a prediction?
I'm not predicting, but as much as I love David, he better watch his back in that event.
And who's your fifth pick for the standout chef of the year?
You can't talk about food in Norfolk and Virginia Beach and not talk about Steve Marsh.
That's true. That's true.
I think I was probably as sad, if not more sad, than everyone else to see that Shiptown was going to be closing.
Well, it looks like it's going to be maybe a revamp.
Well, I'm very excited to see what he puts in there. You know, anytime a chef like that decides that he's going to go in a different direction, you kind of want to see where his brain's going to be at.
That's very true, very true.
The food at La Grande has always just been so solid, and, you know, it took me a while to get in there. I think I jumped on that bandwagon a little late at your insistence, but I've never been disappointed by anything him or his crew put out. That's another crew. You talk about guys that are just sort of top-notch and that have really great people that work for them. Steve's a really wonderful example of that.
Well, you know, I know now you're really busy at Public House, but I mean, another guy that will be on my list for top chefs is actually going to be you and what you did at Supper. I think that the job you did at Supper really stood out. You know, not that Supper's ever had bad food, but I think the last year the food there has gone to a whole nother level that really matches the environment that place is. And I know, we're friends, so like someone's gonna go, you're biased or whatever. But I've brought so many people in there, from the collards you do to the fried chicken that you had going on in there. It was just a really successful year, and I know you'll definitely be on my top 5 list when that comes out later on in Southern Grid.
I really appreciate you saying that. That's you know, I think that's to me is more of an indictment of the staff I have maybe than anything else. But you know, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad that the work we've been putting in is kind of is being recognized. I did have a couple sort of honorable mentions on our staff too.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, for those of you that aren't aware, some chefs that might be coming on your radar: Mackenzie Hess out at Sonoma. My pastry chef at Supper, Kay Mahoney. She's probably one of the best pastry chefs in the area. She just won Best Dessert at the March of Dimes event. There's definitely some great young talent out there that's coming up. Also, the guys out at the Landing, Chip Lewis and Brent Cowan, they're doing really great food as well.
Absolutely. All right, well, Josh, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. Everything you've done for Southern Grid over the years, all the help, and also just most importantly, making outstanding food in the area and kind of elevating what's going on. So thank you, man. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, dude. Can I get everybody's attention real good? Can we give a round of applause to Fitz here? Because for a long time, we didn't have a whole lot of really succinct food media in this place. No one asked him to do this, but here we are 3 years in, and we have a really solid, really awesome food scene. And, you know, that's due in at least part to, you know, Fitz's effort. So I think we all owe him a debt of gratitude as well.
I'll give you a little reach around later in the car, I promise for that.
Appreciate that. Dry only, please.
So, Deb, I wanted to talk to you about something as well. When it talks about awards for the year and about kind of a best of list, recently somebody that you've studied a little bit on a national level received a very important award, and I wanted to give you a minute to kind of talk about that. Deb writes about the intersection of race, culture, and food, and Deb's been with the magazine now for some months, and she has an article that everyone should check out in the new edition, Up the Mountain, which is about James Hemings, which is what the dinner was based on. But she wanted to talk about an award recently to somebody very important she's done some research on. So, Deb, tell them a little bit about that person and what that's about.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, Eater listed the Gray restaurant as the 2017 Restaurant of the Year. The executive chef there is Mashama Bailey. It's located in an Art Deco Greyhound bus station that was built in 1938. It was in operation until 1964. Interestingly enough, it had segregated waiting rooms and it had segregated restaurants the entire time it was in use. It underwent a multi-million-dollar renovation, and Chef Bailey reworked the menu in the past couple of years, and she really looked at Edna Lewis, which, if most of you know who she is, she's wrote cookbooks, and she's from Virginia, and she wrote In the Pursuit of Flavor, which basically chronicles the Southern culinary calendar throughout the year. So Bailey basically redid the entire menu based on the culinary calendar, and so it allowed her to really break out of your basic, mains, appetizers, desserts, things, and really kind of take full advantage of what was growing in depending on the year. So it's really just kind of interesting to think about the irony of this African-American chef who has taken over the Gray and is now listed as the best restaurant in the country in the same place that was segregated not 50 years ago. So she's someone who's definitely, out in Savannah, she should be well awarded for and then looked up to.
I'm really glad that she's, receiving credit in a faster way than what Hemmings had to deal with back in the day. And it's good to see that maybe things at least are changing to some degree where some of the right people are finally getting some of the recognition they so much deserve.
Absolutely agree.
So I want to bring on Richard George now. My boy Richard George from Inside Virginia. Let's hear it for Richard George, guys. So we actually met Richard through Bob Roberts at Redwood Smoke Shack. Richard and his partner Michael Dove have shot so many of the leading restaurants and so much of their food, and they're just passionate guys that have a real creative edge to them. They've shot video, stills. You definitely need to check out their Instagram, which I think is at like 10,000 almost follows. Yeah, it's crazy the numbers these guys do. So Richard, tell me a little bit, man. What's it like been shooting Hampton Roads food as you have over the last year?
Yeah, man, it's been really interesting. It's been really interesting because it's one thing to see the food, but it's another thing to see the people behind the food, people in the kitchen like Chef Josh over there, and to get to see that relational aspect that goes between the customer and the food and all the ingredients is just incredible to see. Because, again, it's one thing to just see the food, but it's one thing to see the passion behind the food. That's what we love to see at Inside Virginia. That's what we love to portray at Inside Virginia, is see, again, that genuine passion that people have behind what they're doing to serve people the best food that they can at their restaurant.
And so how long have you guys been around?
So we started in Inside Virginia in January, actually, and we didn't really know what niche we wanted to be in. So, we were at Prince Ink Co. I've got some guys in Richmond that have an exotic car dealership. We were there shooting their cars. And then we shot at Greenhouse Kitchen. We just walked in there, got some shots of their apps, and posted that. And we realized that blew up a lot more than any of the other posts we did. And we were like, so we've got something going here, So, of course, I was like, all right, so let's see what other foodies are in the area doing this. And we couldn't find but a handful. And Jarrell at Namrama, he was the big guy. He was the top shot. And we realized that he was really the only person doing it. And, of course, we all love options. Options are great. So instead of just having that one guy, I was like, well, maybe we can go in and get a piece of what he isn't doing. Maybe we can go in and try to do something a little different so that people can say, oh, let's see what Inside Virginia has, So that's where we started, and that's where we found our niche with food, and that ended up being in February. So we went through a month of trying to find our stride, and once we found it, that's where we kept going on from there.
And so what would you say has surprised you in this endeavor? You've only been around since January, basically. But what would you be surprised to learn about the food scene here in Hampton Roads?
It's in Hampton Roads, really. Again, I'll start with Bob, too. Bob, when I first met Bob, I realized that he was a people person. And from the get-go, before we even started talking about food, we started talking about each other. It was a very open conversation, and I'm a very community-oriented person. So to see Bob, So to see Bob talk to me the way he was without even having the food in front of me yet, said a lot about, again, that relational aspect a lot of business owners who have restaurants have for their customers. Because, again, you can serve me great food, But if you're an a-hole restaurant owner, I won't be back for your food. I'm just being real, you know? And again, if your food is okay and we can have good conversations about anything, I'll come back for your food if it's mediocre, you know? But Bob's Barbecue is probably the best barbecue I've had in Hampton Roads. I will say that, yeah, by all means. The best barbecue I've had, and haven't had a chance to get back there. But that, again, that relational aspect between the restaurant owners and the customers just blows me away about this area.
For anybody else that wants to learn any more about Richard and all of his stuff he's doing with Inside Virginia, make sure to check out the newest edition of Southern Grit. Him and Michael Dove are both in that magazine and highlighted, as well as a group he mentioned, which is Namarama, and I think Mr. Curtis is over there as well, the other man in Namarama Burger Club. So, Deb, I think we get to do our best of list now, which I've been waiting on for a while.
Have you?
Yes, I have. We've been talking a lot about best bites, you and me. We go out, we eat a lot. I expose you to a lot of things. Sometimes it's
not so great.
Not so great,
Yeah.
and kind of a dangerous situation, and sometimes it's
Salmonella.
So you have a few of your favorite bites for this year. What are those bites?
So shockingly enough, the shishito peppers over at Shiptown, which the whole deal with that is we went on my birthday and they're like, oh, you know, out of this whole thing of peppers, no one's ever going to get spicy pepper. What are you talking about? And who got the spicy pepper?
You got two of the spicy peppers.
I did. So yeah, so thank you for that experience. That was really kind of you.
Well, I enjoyed, giving you a little bit of trouble. You know how I am.
Yeah, that's your thing.
So what were there's 4 others. What were the other 4?
So this one's a bit odd. So over at Peck and Pour, the sweet soy wings. Like I have become obsessed with these bad boys, and I eat them probably once a week now. It's a problem. It's an addiction.
It's ironic you said that as Mark Frank's walking in. So Mark Frank from Spark and Wizard Bug is here as well. So Mark, we were just talking about how Deb has found a third Korean fried chicken wing that she prefers over both chicken fish and banchan. Have you had? In fact, come over here for a minute. Let's hear it from Mark, by the way. Mark has a food podcast in the area. Everybody should check out. Here, let me let him give you the address. Mark's a really cool guy that does a lot for the food scene as well. So, Mark, where can they check out more on Spark and Wizard Bug?
Yeah, It's called Spark and the Wizard Bug. It's a food podcast that we interview like local chefs and local people in the industry. We interviewed Fitz on the podcast a while back, and you can find it at Spark and the Wizard Bug at whatever you want because no one else has taken that name yet.
But yeah, Deb was saying that her second favorite bite of the year was a Korean fried chicken over at Peck and Pour of all places, which I actually really like that too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you do, because you're always with me.
I am always with you.
So, yeah.
So what's your third favorite?
All right, so the third one, I got to shout out Bob. Again, like the brisket there is, honest to goodness, some of the best I've ever had. So, mwah. Like it's fantastic. Yeah.
What's your fourth pick?
Number 4, the pork belly at LeGrand, which I'll give you your props. You actually suggested it, and I'll give that to you.
The only reason why that's not on my list this year is because that's been on my list in previous years. But yes, anytime Steve Marsh is doing pork belly, that is going to be one of the best plates out there.
Yeah, that one, it was amazing. Really good choice.
What's your fifth dish?
And number 5, I got to shout out Josh. Like the collars at supper, I mean, not quite my nanas, but you're in the vicinity, and so, I mean, one of the best collard greens I've ever had. So shout out to you.
So, are you interested in my 5 favorite dishes?
Yes.
You are? You promise?
Maybe
just a little bit? Okay. So number 5 is actually not the same dish, but it is the pork belly that Bob Roberts made this year that I had. So apparently everybody really loves Bob Roberts
tonight.
It's
the Bob Roberts show at this point.
But I'll tell you how good it was. When I actually had a critique of the first time I had pork belly from Bob, I thought it wasn't quite crispy enough on the outside, but it was still amazing. Some of the best I've ever had. Literally like a week later, he goes, "Stop by, you got to try this." He had pork belly that was so good that after I made Josh come by this, like the day after or something, and try it, Josh was like, "I got to figure out how the hell Bob's making pork belly that good." It's the only thing that's ever come close to Steve Marsh's pork belly for me, and that was definitely the 5th best bite I had all year. Yeah. Number 4 was David Hanna's Philly cheesesteak. David Hanna's Philly cheesesteak I cannot even tell you how good that is. I mean, it is just. It's everything. It's everything a cheesesteak should be, except there isn't Cheese Whiz on it. But it's so good, I still think it's the best one.
Wow.
Oh no, Cheese Whiz. All right, whatever. I like Cheese Whiz.
We won't go there.
but that was definitely number 4. Number 3, which may not have been number 3 if I had not had the scallop a minute ago, was actually the scallop out at Chops by Eric Nelson. Eric Nelson is the chef out in Virginia Beach that maybe doesn't get as much love as he should. He did a really inventive pop-up about a year ago called Blue Tape. Josh has worked with him in the past as well at Steinhilber's. And his scallop dish in an area where you can get a lot of scallop dishes really stuck out for me and was truly one of the best bites that I've had in, like, not just recently, but like in a long time. I mean, it was very, very good.
Awesome.
So, all right, I hate to admit this. I did it. I said this because I've eaten so much of it and I can't stop eating it. I'm obsessed with the chicken wings at Peck and Pour. It's not high-end cooking, but it's of all the places, and I've eaten more Korean fried chicken wings over the last year than maybe anything else, maybe even more than pho. Those chicken wings are like my favorite chicken wings right now.
Yeah.
And I would say that the Koreans, they're doing it big right now, man. There's a lot of really good Korean restaurants around the area that truly, I mean, absolutely shine.
Yeah.
My favorite bite,
Okay.
which, it's kind of weird saying this because it's not going to be around anymore. The best thing I ate all year was the foie gras hot dog at Shiptown.
Yeah.
The foie gras hot dog at Shiptown was so good that it's still, as a guy who gets real fucking passionate about hot dogs, I mean, I've done a hot dog crawl. It's completely decadent, super fat boy, don't get me wrong, but it only snapped but so much, but it was so good. It was even better than the Pendulum hot dog, which is exceptional. Any of the hot dogs you can get out in Suffolk, a couple of them are good out there as well. But that was my favorite bite. I feel guilty because it's foie gras, but it's so good I don't care. So that was my favorite bite.
Okay.
I'll have my full top 10 list in the next edition of Southern Grit magazine. And we'll have some of the other staff members weighing in on their favorites as well. I also wanted to talk about best restaurants this year. Did you want to weigh in with that on me, or do you want me to take that solo?
I'm going to chime in on it.
Okay, all right. So give me you want to give 3 in the top 3?
So I gotta say Shiptown again. Like, I had such a good meal at Shiptown.
Why do you think it didn't do well in terms of they got to revamp?
Price point.
Price point?
Yeah, I think it was a little high for where it was. But the quality of the food was exceptional. It was one of the best crab cakes I think I've ever had. Again, the shishio peppers, which was on my other list, was amazing. Just everything that I had there. And even though I had the tuna melt with no melt, that was that
doesn't count. You cannot have a tuna melt with no melt.
It does count.
No.
It was a meal I had there. Absolutely counts, and it was fantastic. So there.
All right. So besides Shiptown, where else was a standout restaurant for you?
I took my dad to supper. My dad lives in Hawaii, so he doesn't really get to have home cooking very often, and so he thoroughly enjoyed it. And
your dad also got a little snocker that night. He had some of that moonshine that they have over there.
He had a couple of glasses of moonshine, as a matter of fact, and got really talkative.
He got talkative,
yeah.
Told us about nearly getting arrested at a Farm Fresh.
Only my father would do that, yeah.
Okay, so I think you have one more. I'll get into mine.
No, go ahead and do yours.
Okay, well, so number 3 on my list was also Supper Southern Morsels and Josh Gregory. Again, I went into it earlier, but it really cannot be stated how much he changed the quality of the food there. It really did. For me, it was a turnaround. I mean, it was never bad, but I would say it was average to a little bit above average. Now it's a place where literally some of my favorite dishes, I can go in there. I reintroduced Kim Parker of So Full Excess to the place, and now she's a fan again. I brought you up there. You brought your family up there. Josh really did turn around, and Supper definitely was on my top 3 list for this year.
Yeah.
Another one that, it's kind of interesting. Stoley's is going to go number 2, and I almost put Stoley's number 1, but I decided to go with Stoley's number 2. Ultimately, David Hanna's been so consistent that it's hard to keep him off any of these lists. I can't wait to see him and Josh go at it for the burger battle in January. It's going to be a true battle. There's also a lot of other talent in that. And you know, number one, you got any guesses which number one was?
I don't.
You have no guesses.
No, I
at all.
have no guesses. Tell me. Don't keep me waiting in suspense now.
So a lot of people are not going to believe me on this, but my number one, because of how much was riding on it in the pressure, esoteric.
Really? Wow.
The reason why is I gotta say, and you know, he'll probably get mad at me for saying this. I didn't know if Brian was ready for that.
Okay.
That restaurant for me, along with Stockpot, along with Hearth, that's where the energy in the Vibe District is right now.
Yeah.
There's also energy, you know, over at Eat an American Bistro, which is also really solid, and Terrapin. But the job that Brian had to do, he had to come in there and follow Ian Hawk. And notice how when we were talking about Shiptown, that's Ian Hawk making most of those dishes. And Shiptown ranked very high on our list this year. Mm-hmm. What Brian did is he took over for somebody else, put his own stamp on it, made it still completely solid, and I actually think came up with a few dishes that were actually better than before. And so honestly, that was the one that I felt was the best for the year.
Wow.
It was really tough between that and Stoli's, but I went for that. One of my honorable mentions that I wanted to go into real quick is still Le Grand. Le Grand really should be seen as the restaurant that kind of validated North Collie as a real food destination. There was Chow before then, for sure, which was pretty good, kind of hit and miss. There's other restaurants over there, but really Le Grand is, I think, the reason why real foodies drive over across the tracks where it used to be a place a lot of people didn't go, and go dine. And so that should always be up there. It's still super solid, and it's, you know, it's just really, really good. Also, I want to send a shout out kind of to just a couple chefs. I'm gonna save my best of chef list for the year, as far as number 6 through 10. But from 6 through 10, below 5, a lot of the guys in Community Kitchen are gonna be on that list.
Yeah.
Community Kitchen was the alt bite. And it's so many great chefs. I mean, it's Forrest Warren, it's Josh Gregory, it's David Hanna, it's now John Scheidt, who made a hell of a first dish tonight. It's Bob Roberts, it's Andrea. I mean, it's already mentioned Josh. It's just a real good group of chefs that are doing it for the right reasons and the right way. And so definitely you'll see some of those guys popping up on my 6 through 10 list as I finish out the top 10.
Awesome choice. Good mention.
So anything else you want to finish this final season podcast for that was a bit of a technological clusterfuck, but we made it happen? Shout out to Nick, who's always our engineer and sound guy. Thank you, Nick. Also, can we hear it for the chefs tonight, John Scheidt and Chef Sam Garrity? Has the dessert come out yet? What was that like? I heard Old Bay ice cream. Was it good? Come up here, let me try it. Bob, come up here, man. We talked about you the whole damn day. Bob, come up here and bring me a bite of that. Bob, get up here. All right. Let me see what this is. That's very good. That's very interesting. I think you tried that earlier.
I did.
What did you think?
Well, you know I'm a connoisseur of Old Bay, and I take my Old Bay
You're an Old Bay
seriously.
connoisseur?
Excuse me?
You're an Old Bay connoisseur?
Yes, I'm an Old Bay connoisseur.
I didn't know.
You can't have fried crab without Old Bay.
We can't talk about fried crab.
Oh, we can talk about fried crab all day.
I'm not going into that.
It's the last episode. How are we not going to talk about fried crab?
When are you going to write an article about fried crab?
When are you going to greenlight it?
It's been greenlighted.
Since when?
Whenever you want to write it.
Okay, in the next one, fried crab.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for coming,
Thanks
everybody.
so much,
Thank
guys.
you.
To all the chefs, by the way, who just kill it in the area, our food scene has really been growing the last few years, and it's really because of guys like Andrea, Josh, Bob, AJ, so many guys I'm not mentioning right now, David. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the evening.